Some of these comments are absolutely outrageous. They are beyond the pale by an American president. Let me be clear.
How hard will this meeting be for Keir Starmer? We've had Macron talking to Trump. We've got Zelensky on Friday. What do you make of what sort of meeting should Keir Starmer expect, do you think?
This is a very, very intense, high diplomatic tightrope that the prime minister must now walk. We are talking about navigating a new relationship with, once again, President Trump, who is now back and in full power of the American government, and now changing the conversation to negotiate a peace treaty, a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia, ensuring that a lasting peace does not mean concessions to Russia that are incompatible with European security.
Is that true, though? Because he's already made concessions to Russia that feel incompatible with European security. He's already given up the idea of Ukraine joining NATO. He's talked pretty much down the idea of what troops on the ground might look like. The argument that the land is going to go to Russia has also been conceded by him even before the negotiations started. There's a feeling over here that he wants peace, he wants minerals. He probably doesn't care about Ukraine very much, is a sentiment I think that exists in the ether over here. What do you make of that?
I'm not sure that that is the case. President Trump has been clear, and let's also recognize that out of the last few presidents, it was President Trump where Russia did not take land at the barrel of a gun. You think about Obama taking Crimea with little green men and being kicked out of the progressive dinner that the G8 summit meeting was. You think about under George Bush, we've seen aggression after aggression, obviously under President Biden, against Ukraine. President Trump may be respected, maybe even feared by President Putin. Right now is a time for peace. And we've seen the Prime Minister, Starmer, float the idea of having UK troops as a peacekeeping mission. President Trump today said that may actually be all right. Again, trying to fight back against this notion that this hypothetical myth that NATO is somehow an infringement or an encroachment on Russia. And then beyond that, President Trump absolutely has been interested in this mineral deal with Ukraine, which would somehow get the U.S. paid back and somehow make Ukraine even richer, tapping into what they have yet to untap. But one of the key things that he said was that having U.S. personnel and companies in country would actually be a deterrent to Russia. So again, these are all everyone wants peace. This is not a war that will end in a military victory, but it is how you craft this peace that will be up to, subject to public debate, scrutiny, and also questions around a lasting security, not just for Ukraine, but also for Europe and the world.
What sort of figure is Trump in all of this? And is he a disruptor who is across everything and is deliberately throwing rocks into the pool? Or is he someone who isn't that well briefed and just saying whatever occurs to him? It's very hard for us to sort of work out the level of strategic chaos, is I suppose. How much is it genuine chaos and how much is it strategic chaos?
The short answer is yes. President Trump continues to be a rare bird in American politics and certainly international politics. We have seen his personal affinity for Vladimir Putin. We have seen him make outrageous false statements around President Zelensky. Yet at the end of the day, this is someone who has made it very clear that he believes that he's the one that can bring peace to the region. He wants to be remembered for that. We are an America that has been at war for the past 25 years. His message has been to end that. Again, arguably, he likes to negotiate, sometimes with distraction, sometimes focusing on things, asking for a mile or maybe a kilometer, and settling for an inch, so long as that is an inch no American president could have ever got before in concessions. So he likes to be unpredictable. He likes to be a wild card. He likes to be the person that will be sometimes vile, even vulgar to our allies on social media, yet again is happy to extend that hand and find common ground.
How does that work? Matthew? I'm so interested by that, because how does seemingly parroting a Putin line, calling Zelensky a dictator, which is completely untrue, how does that actually help the service of peace? I do understand the point you're making that he's willing to say anything, but why saying that stuff? Why does that actually get us closer to peace?
Well, it's listen, unclear. Let's just be honest here. But there is a notion that continuing to, again, Russia is an aggressor in this war, a war for no reason. Again, denazifying Ukraine, a warm water port, restoring the Soviet Union, threats of NATO, all preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. So you now have someone who made a very grave mistake on the global scale. President Trump looks as if he is trying to create a runway in order for Putin to pave the way for peace. That could be beneficial. Some of these comments are absolutely outrageous. They are beyond the pale by an American president. Let me be clear. But at the end of the day, it will be, these statements will either be headlines in history or they will be the footnotes of history. We've seen this often with President Trump. Statements are made. At the end of the day, a positive outcome for Europe, Ukraine, America, the world, is possible. So again, it is a mix of rhetoric, it is a mix of outrage, and it's a mix of understanding.
How does Starmer handle him? In your experience, do you try and out alpha Donald Trump, or at least be on the same alpha plane as him, or do you have to be submissive? Do you have to be a silverback gorilla, or do you have to be a submissive baboon when it comes to Donald Trump? What's the right approach to him?
I think we have seen different presidents and prime ministers throughout the years, throughout my lifetime and beyond, get together. Again, this amazing, special, unique relationship that our countries have will always endure, no matter who is in power. Yet we've seen, people get unlikely allies. The Southern President Bush getting along with Tony Blair, and unfortunately, that led into a very misguided war. So now we're seeing very different personalities from the American president, the British prime minister. Authenticity is key. There are points where we saw even Prime Minister Macron, contradicting and correcting President Trump, even grabbing him, touching him. We will see how the prime minister does. I would say,
should Starmer do that? Do you think? Do you think Starmer should try and have a moment like that, or is it not worth thinking like that in advance?
I think one of the greatest things that he has done already is come bearing gifts, meaning not just proposing UK troops on the ground, but also increasing UK defense spending. This is something that has always irked President Trump. The notion of Europe being in a grave threat situation from Russia, yet continuing to not meet their obligations, continuing to get energy and resources from Russia. President Trump was laughed at, mocked at NATO, yet ultimately, and very sadly, unfortunately, proven correct. So now you have a prime minister who is arguably putting his boots and treasure, to his word. I think that is absolutely appreciated. That will not go again. President Trump recognized that today. That goes a long, long way in terms of the respect that the relationship is due. And again, the authenticity, the notion that we are a shared people of shared common values, of trade, of culture. Even go to President Trump's lineage, or even one of his golf courses, or his affinity for the royal family. That endures, and it is critical, like it or not, in these delicate diplomatic situations, whether it is tomorrow's bilateral or the ultimate shaping of the peace deal for Ukraine.